Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to completely flip the script on how you define technology.
hmm
Usually, when we use that word, you're picturing the smartphone in your hand or, a server farm humming somewhere in Iceland.
Right. Or the algorithm that decided you needed to buy those sneakers yesterday.
Exactly. But what if the most sophisticated, high bandwidth, self repairing piece of technology isn't the device you're holding? What if it's you?
It's a provocative starting point, for sure. We tend to look at biology and technology as enemies, or at least as separate categories.
Yeah, the natural world and the synthetic world.
But the source material we're covering today argues that no, humans are the ultimate technology. We are capable of upgrading, evolving, and processing these incredibly complex data streams in ways that silicon chips, well, they just can't match yet.
And to guide us through this concept, which we're calling the technology of self, we are unpacking a conversation with a guy named Michelle Combs. Now, looking at his profile, I honestly thought there was a typo. It's like two different resumes got stapled together by accident.
It really does seem that way at first glance. I mean, on one side, you have this heavy-hitting engineer,
PhD in electronics.
a self-described digital locksmith, and a veteran of Silicon Valley. He speaks the language of code, of hardware, of systems architecture. He knows how to build the, let's call it dry tech we use every day.
But then you flip the page. He was raised in the south of France by a mother who was a yoga teacher and literally pioneered Ayurveda in Europe.
So he grew up with chakras and mantras.
While he was learning calculus and circuit boards, today he's a conscious entrepreneur based in Lausanne, Switzerland, and apparently spends his weekends hiking and tango dancing.
It's a unique intersection. It
Yeah.
really is. Usually people pick a lane, you know. You're either the skeptical engineer or you're the spiritual seeker.
Right.
Combs is attempting to be the bridge. And his whole theory relies on merging synthetic technology, our gadgets, with organic technology.
Our consciousness, our biology.
Exactly. He argues we're trying to solve modern problems like teen anxiety or generational trauma using only half the toolkit.
The core premise here is that we are operating this incredibly advanced organic machine, our body and mind, with really outdated software. We just don't know how to run the system.
Right, so Combs is basically writing the user manual.
Yeah.
And he approaches it like a systems engineer debugging a network.
Yeah.
He doesn't see anxiety just as an emotion. He sees it as a feedback loop or maybe a signal processing error.
Okay, so before we get into the really wild stuff, and I'm warning you, we are going to talk about magnetic vision and putting banana peels in your smoothies.
Oh, we are.
We need to establish his critique of the current tech world. He calls modern tech dry technology. What is the specific engineering complaint there?
What really comes down to thermodynamics and entropy. Combs describes most of our current technology, electronics, industrial machines, combustion engines, as anthropic and just linear.
It extracts energy, performs a task, and creates waste.
Exactly. It's a drain on the system. You mine the lithium, you use the battery dies, you toss it in a landfill. It's a dead-end street.
Right, doesn't regenerate, it just consumes.
It just consumes. It lacks a feedback loop with the living world.
Huh.
And Combs contrasts this with what he calls conscious technology.
Okay.
He believes that true high tech should mimic the living world, which is inherently regenerative. In a forest, right, the waste of one process is the fuel for another. There is no trash.
He wants to apply that circular logic to how we design our tools.
Our tools, and more importantly, our own habits.
And he's not just, philosophizing about this from a chalet in the Alps. He's actually building a product. It's called Adori.
Or Adel, depending on the translation, yeah.
It's an app for teenagers, but it's not just another social media trap. He frames it as mental fitness.
And the context here is vital. He talks about eco-anxiety. He looks at the current generation of teens and sees this profound disconnect. They look at the adult world, the world of dry technology, and basically say, you guys are destroying my future.
They feel powerless.
Completely.
Yeah.
Combs realized that he couldn't just tell them to cheer up. He needed to give them a tool to upgrade their internal operating system.
He mentions that he originally started looking at menopause health, which is an odd jump, but he pivoted to teens because he realized he needed to catch the bad code before it compiled, so to speak.
That's a great way to put it. He wants to anchor habits of self-love and awareness early. But here's the key. He uses the app, the synthetic tech, to teach them about their organic tech.
Right.
He points out that we teach kids algebra and history, but we don't teach them how their dopamine reward system works or how the gut-brain axis influences their mood.
It's so true. We give them a smartphone, but don't explain the neurochemistry of addiction that very phone is exploiting.
Precisely. So Adori is designed to be a technology of self-tutor. It helps them understand that their feelings aren't just random glitches, but readable signals from their body.
It's about moving from being a passive user of your brain to an active admin.
That's it.
Okay, so that's the software update. But as any gamer knows, you can't run high-performance software on broken hardware. If your graphics card is fried, the game won't load.
And this brings us to Combs' hardware hacks.
And this is where the conversation takes a sharp left turn into the kitchen.
The famous banana peel protocol.
I honestly thought this was a joke at first. He tells this story about his stepmother, who is 86 years old. She's in a really dark place, 3 suicide attempts, feeling completely stuck.
And conventional therapy isn't working.
Not at all. So Combs decides to intervene, not with a microchip, but with a blender.
It sounds absurd, but from a biochemical perspective, it's all about bioavailability. He started secretly adding ground banana peels to her green shakes.
Which we all throw away. We see it as packaging.
Of course. But Combs looks at the peel and sees a chemical repository. It's packed with tryptophan and other precursors to serotonin and dopamine.
Really?
Yeah, and it's rich in magnesium and potassium. His whole argument is that we discard the most nutrient-dense part of the fruit because of, cultural programming. He saw his stepmother's depression partially as a hardware failure.
A nutrient deficiency.
A deficiency that was preventing her brain from regulating her mood.
And the craziest part is that it worked. Her mood stabilized. It wasn't a miracle cure-all, but
it got the hardware running well enough to process the software again.
It just highlights that engineer's mindset. If the system is failing, check the inputs.
Are you fueling the machine with the right raw materials?
Speaking of inputs, we have to talk about water. This is the part of the source material where I really needed the PhD engineer explanation because otherwise it sounds...
It sounds like pure magic.
Yeah. He treats water like it's a hard drive.
He does. And this is where we have to sort of suspend our high school chemistry model of water as just H2O molecules bouncing around randomly. Combs treats water as a liquid crystal.
A liquid crystal, like an LCD screen.
Similar concept. In engineering, we use materials like silicon because they can hold a state. You can flip a bit from 0 to 1 and it stays there. That's memory.
Okay.
Combs argues that water molecules, because of their hydrogen bonding, form these complex cluster structures that can hold geometry.
So when he says water has memory, he doesn't mean the water remembers like a brain. He means it holds a structural imprint. Is that it?
Correct. He uses the dye analogy. Imagine you drop a single drop of blue dye into a bottle of water.
Okay.
The water carries the information of that dye. Now, if you pour that bottle into the ocean chemically, the dye is diluted to infinity. But technically, the information of that dye is now distributed throughout the entire system.
I follow that.
Right.
But he takes it a step further with his water rituals. He puts water in bottles and sets them on boards with words written on them, like integrity or love. How do we bridge the gap from dye to written words?
Well, this relies on the idea of resonance and frequency. Combs argues that everything, including an intention or a concept, has a frequency signature. He believes water is the ultimate recorder, a programmable substance.
So by exposing the water to these concepts, he believes he's structuring the water to resonate with that frequency.
That's the idea. And he contrasts this with how we usually treat water, specifically in the microwave. I will never look at my microwave the same way again.
No.
He calls the microwave a brute force attack on water.
Because it works by oscillating the water molecules.
Billions of times per second to create friction and heat. Combs argues that this destroys the natural structure, the clusters, and turns the water into chaotic noise. He calls it dead water.
So he wants to drink structured water because he believes our bodies run better on organized information than on chaotic noise.
Yes, and he references the work of Masaru Emoto, the famous ice crystal experiments, but he adds a signal processing layer to it. He talks about the 1F curve, or pink noise.
Yeah, explain this. He says nature is beautiful because of math.
Essentially, yeah. In signal processing, white noise is random static. It's harsh. A pure tone is too orderly. It's boring. Pink noise, or 1F, is right in the middle.
The Goldilocks zone.
It is. It's a fractal balance between order and chaos. It's the sound of rain, the pattern of a coastline, the rhythm of a heartbeat. Combs explains that our brains evolved to recognize this 1F pattern as safety or life.
So when water is structured naturally, it aligns with this curve.
And when we drink it or look at a beautiful landscape, our internal systems sync up with that frequency. We are literally tuning our receiver to the broadcast frequency of nature.
That metaphor of the body as a receiver is perfect for this next part, because Coombs claims we're picking up way more than just water structure. He says we're walking around recording magnetic fields and we don't even know it.
This is one of those hidden in plain sight biological facts. We know that birds navigate using magnetic fields. They have a protein in their eyes called cryptochrome.
And we have it too.
We do. It's in the human retina. And the leading theory on how this works is actually quantum mechanical. It involves radical pairs of electrons that are entangled.
Wait. So we have quantum sensors in our eyes.
We have a quantum compass, yes. Combs points out that biologically the hardware is installed, we are sensing the magnetic field. But our conscious brain, the user interface, it filters it out.
Because we don't use it to migrate south for the winter.
Exactly. It's deemed unnecessary data. But his point is that just because the conscious mind ignores it doesn't mean the system isn't recording it.
The subconscious, the operating system, is logging all that data.
All of it.
Yeah.
It's recording the magnetic environment, the emotional environment, everything. He calls the brain a magic recorder. It never stops writing to the disk.
He even extends this to how we interact with other people. He talks about the small dance.
Yeah, this comes from his twin brother, who's an osteopath. The small dance refers to the micro movements our bodies make constantly just to maintain balance. When you stand in a room with someone else, you aren't just looking at them. Your body is reading their micro sway, their breathing pattern, their tension.
So it's a peer-to-peer connection that happens below the level of conversation.
It's high bandwidth data transfer. We are downloading the state of the other person. Are they safe? Are they stressed? Before we even say hello, Combs calls this a global humanity knowledge database.
Wow.
We are all networked together through these subtle physical signals.
This view of the human as this relentless recording device is fascinating, but it leads to a really heavy realization. If we are recording everything, we've been recording for a lot longer than we think.
And this brings us to the grandmother hypothesis.
This is the part where the biology creates a kind of timeline paradox. Okay, I want to slow this down because when I read this in the notes, I had to stop and count on my fingers.
Yeah. Let's walk through it. So, a woman is born with all the eggs she will ever have.
All of them.
And those eggs are formed when she is a fetus.
Okay. So my mother created the egg that became me while she was a fetus.
Right. And where was she when she was a fetus?
She was inside her mother, my grandmother, specifically around the 5th month of my grandmother's pregnancy. So wait, that means the physical cell that became me
was present inside your grandmother's womb. You, or the cellular starter kit for you, were physically there. You were bathing in the blood supply, the nutrients, and the stress hormones of your grandmother.
That is terrifyingly intimate. So if my grandmother was going through a war or a famine or a deep depression,
that egg was recording that environment. It's not just a genetic blueprint. It's a biological memory.
It's data transfer.
That's how Combs argues that trauma or resilience is passed down. It's not mystical. You are running legacy code that was written 2 generations ago.
Legacy code. That is exactly what it is. It's like buying a new computer and finding out it has a bunch of old enterprise software pre-installed that you can't delete.
Exactly. And this is where Combs' own story comes in. He talks about his lineage, strong Italian women, and oppressed men, as he puts it. He realized he was playing out a script of conflict between masculine and feminine energies that he didn't write. It was the grandmother code running in the background.
So, as the engineer of his own self, how does he debug that? You can't exactly format the hard drive.
You can't delete the file, but you can change how the program executes. Combs says the key is observation. He uses a bit of quantum phrasing here. Observation collapses the wave.
What does he mean by that in a practical sense?
He means the moment you consciously identify the pattern. Oh, I am feeling angry right now, not because of this situation, but because I am replaying my grandmother's fear.
You stop the automatic execution?
You interrupt the loop. You move the process from the subconscious, the background, to the conscious, the foreground. You become the admin. You say, I see this code. It's obsolete. I'm choosing not to run it.
That is the technology of self.
It's using your consciousness, your intention, to override the default settings of your biology.
It really reframes the whole idea of free will.
Right.
We might have less free will than we think regarding what programs are installed.
But we have total agency over which ones we choose to execute.
And that's the empowering takeaway, isn't it? We aren't victims of our history or our hardware. We are just uneducated users.
Combs is saying, learn the machine, understand the sensors, feed it the right fuel, even if it's banana peels, and rewrite the software.
It's a lot to process. We've gone from teen apps to liquid crystals to grandmother eggs, but it all hangs together under this one idea.
That we need to stop treating ourselves like dry machines and start treating ourselves like living, resonant technology.
And the so what for the listener is pretty direct.
Information is everywhere. It's in the water you drink, the fields you walk through, and the cells you inherited. You can either let that information drive you on autopilot, or you can take the wheel.
We are the ultimate technology, and we're finally bothering to read the manual.
It's about time.
I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on, something that really stuck with me from Combs' work. If your cells were physically present during your grandmother's toughest moments, and your body is basically a walking hard drive recording your daily environment right now, what old programs are you running today that you never actually chose? And more importantly, do you have the courage to open up the code and rewrite them?
That is the question.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.